What is your Tinder horror story? Found a profile using a picture of me that was obviously ripped from my Facebook account. Come to find out it was my ex-wife trying to stir up drama and problems between my current wife and myself. A single friend of ours texted me a screenshot of it. My wife is an intelligent woman and didn't fall for it. This became a horror story for my ex because this, among other shady things she had done, landed her with stalking charges and identity theft charges. Sucks to be stupid. So I met this girl on Tinder and went for a lunch date. We had a pretty good connection, so we decided to have dinner as well. After having a few drinks, one thing led to another and ended up back at my place. Had sex and went to sleep. Middle of the night I wake up. She's intensely staring at me while she's crouched behind the bed. I asked her if everything is alright. She said yes and got back into bed. I thought little creepy, but probably nothing to worry about. She lays down to cuddle with me and she's wet. At the time, I was like, damn, I must just be a stallion. Fast forward to the morning. She's gone and there's a wet puddle beside the bed. She peed on my floor. I still don't understand it. I had a bathroom, but maybe she just got lost and couldn't hold it. I did not hear from her again. Oh, I have one where I was probably the nightmare. I went on a first date with a girl from Tinder at a Cajun restaurant in Dallas. The restaurant was the Razzoos on I-75. I had read recently about some stuff called kratom, that is supposed to make you feel really relaxed and euphoric, and I had tried to make a tea from the recommended dosage the previous day, but I didn't feel anything off of it. So I figured if this stuff was supposed to make you be cool and euphoric, then the best time to take it would be for a first date. And since I didn't feel anything from it the first time, I figured I should take more. So I wrapped a lot of it. Kratom is usually sold as a greenish, super bitter powder up inside of balls of deli meat and swallowed those whole before the date. I then went to the lunch feeling nothing, until I met the girl and sat down, at which point I suddenly came to the realization that I was a few seconds away from projectile vomiting up all that kratom and deli meat in the middle of the restaurant. I excused myself, got up from the table, walked a few steps towards the bathroom until I began to violently vomit, at which point I covered my mouth with my hands, began choking on my own vomit as I sprinted towards the bathroom, leaked a trail of vomit all over the floor in a path towards the bathroom, then continued to violently projectile vomit into the trash can in the bathroom. I then spent a while to clean my face and wash my arms and hands, which were soaked in vomit. I then returned to the table and tried to survive the rest of the lunch date without dying of embarrassment. I felt like a huge asshole and was really embarrassed. We lived about 25 minutes from each other, so agreed to meet at the beach pier about halfway between. Before meeting, we had been texting and he seemed totally normal. I was already at the pier when he texted me saying he can't meet me there because his license is revoked and it's too far for him to walk. I should have just left then, but I agreed to meet him at a pizza place closer to him. I get there, and I'm standing outside when I see him, and quickly realize the pics from his profile were at least 3 to 5 years old. Homeboy looks like the dollar store version of himself. Greasy. Looks like he hasn't showered in days. Hair undone. Holes in his shirt. I awkwardly give him a side hug and suggest we get a seat, and he says, "Oh, no, we're not getting pizza. Let's go to the park." I awkwardly say okay, and as he talks, I realize his gums and tongue ring are stained black from smoking. By this point, I am completely turned off and am just keeping up with formalities. So we get to the park and find a bench to talk, and before I can sit down, homie pulls me onto his lap, squeezing me and saying, "God, baby girl, you are so cute." I awkwardly scooch away and try to get a conversation going. He pulls out his phone and starts texting for a few minutes, not really listening to me, before interrupting with, "Have you smoked? My friend is a plug. We could go back to my place for a bowl." I decline. Or, "Come on, bab, why girl? My place is just right there. We could have some fun, too." I decline again. Next thing you know, he pulls me close by the face and whispers, "You're so innocent," before broad-tongued licking my face from chin to ear. Shell-shocked. I just sit there for a moment processing what the just happened as he keeps talking about weed before I decide to fake an urgent phone call and leave. He may have been talking about weed, but it was meth. He just said weed instead. That's tweaker shit. Not me. My dad. Not Tinder either. It was Match.com. My dad had been on Match for about 3 months with some success. He's a tall Australian man who's decent looking, so he had some interest. One weekend he got sent his first nude, which he thought was strange, but brushed it off. Later that week he got 6 more nudes from the same woman. Before he blocked her, he decided that he would open them just for kicks. 5 of the pictures are just straight-up vag shots, which he said were incredibly unappealing and had terrible lighting. The 6th picture, however, was something different. The woman was standing in her bra in front of a mirror, puss out, winking, with a bunch of herbs shoved in her bra, basil, parsley, thyme, all that good stuff. The caption on the picture was "Spice Rack." She was swiftly blocked after my dad stopped laughing long enough to find the block button. Talked to him for 2 weeks before we went out, and no red flags, so we ended up going out to dinner. I said I hadn't been out in a while because I was trying to save money for a washer and dryer. He told me instead of saving for that I should save for a boob job. I didn't even know how to reply, so he followed up with, "No, it's not a bad thing. My sister and mom both had small tits and got boob jobs and they look amazing." This is all before the waitress even brought our drinks. I just got up and left. He told me he's not gay, but he prefers to have sex with men and prefers to be on the bottom. I asked if he was bi and he said, "No, I'm straight, I just like getting in the ass." And then he asked me if he could pee in my butt cause he's always wanted to try it, but he won't top guys, so he can't find out how it feels. He's the head football coach of a private college in my state, and that made it even weirder somehow. This happened just after I decided to get into the dating scene after a traumatic end to a 3-year relationship. So it's 0:45 and a Tinder match messages me asking what I'm doing, then invites me to go out with her. I think it's a bit late, but the clubs are open for 3 to 4 more hours, so why not? I should take opportunities, right? I'm a single man in his 20s for the first time. She says she'll pick me up driving in towards the town from outside of it, and I put on cologne and a nice shirt. Get ready to go out. I go to the car. My match is in the front passenger seat and her friend is driving. I think it's pretty weird, but having a friend along isn't super off, so I get in and ask which club we're going to. We're not going out, just out. My match says as we drive off. Where are we going? I ask, feeling a little uncomfortable. Just into town, she replies. They drive to a nearby bridge with a car park under it and park. Turn the radio up and start chatting. The girl driving pulls out a 1L 2 pints bottle of chocolate milk and starts drinking it. They talk about the most boring shit, barely include me in conversation, and start rolling cigarettes. After 15 minutes they get out of the car to have a smoke. I get out too. My Tinder match is wearing fluffy white slippers that light up with each step. I turn and face them. I appreciate you guys picking me up, but this really isn't my scene. I'm going to head off. Have a nice night. They were very offended. First date. She wanted me to get into a bar fight with the perfectly friendly guy who'd bought us a round of shots that night. Why? Because she found out he was a Scorpio. Astrology chicks are crazy. A chick said she was having a work party at her house and I should come over. It's BYO. So I bought a 6-pack for myself. Went to her place and noticed more than half of the people were younger, 17 to 18, while I was 21 and the girl was also 21. Then they gathered everyone in the living room and proceeded to talk about the job. Turns out it was one of those pyramid scheme recruiting gatherings. I just sat there drinking my beer, only one drinking for 2 hours, because I thought it was rude to leave because they were telling sob stories and saying how much this job had helped them. Sat there listening to some head of the group guy saying how we can make millions in a short amount of time. Saying bullshit like, you see my BMW 3 Series out front? That's a company car that you can drive around in, if you do what we do. It was sad because they were trapping low-income teens that are deciding not to go to college and to join them. After the pitch, I pretty much had enough and was preparing to leave. Then the girl came up to me and asked what I thought, and I just said it's not for me and I'm leaving. She asked if I wanted to take my beer and I said they needed it more than I did. 2 or 3 weeks later she sent me a text. Unfortunately we exchanged numbers, asking if the head of the group guy can call me and ask me questions on why I'm not signing up and how I thought the group session went. I didn't reply, but sure enough the dude called me and I politely said it's not for me, but he kept pushing. Finally I had to tell him to off. And that was the end of that. Never went to work parties for a Tinder date again. It was a complete shit show, and if it wasn't for the beer I brought or the Tinder date's dog, I would have just left. Looking back on it, during the pitch, the head of the group guy said at one point, if you're not interested in making $1 million, you can just leave. No one's stopping you. I really wish I stood up, chugged my beer and said, F this shit. You guys are all stupid and no one should be joining. You will ruin your lives, and walk out. But that's just a daydream I have in the shower. She smoked some meth. Her dogs ate my wallet. Sounds like the beginning of a country song. Not my story, but I knew a guy who had a Freudian slip, more dark side Kermit, bad enough that it ruined everything. I was told this by him after he got home, and suffice to say he was like, why the f did I say that? Date had been going well, and they were walking back to a bus station. They passed a creepy alley, and she said something to the effect of, wow, I would not like to go down that alley. To which he responded, I imagine you are very rapeable. Suffice to say, she ran for the hills and he was mortified. He very much was not a creepy person and had no clue why the hell he said that. Nor has he, to the extent of my knowledge, raped anyone. But Christ almighty, do I agree with the girl's decision to run. First date. We went to see a movie. She brought her sister along without consulting me first, and I somehow ended up paying for both of the tickets. Bit of a doormat. Old me. We went to see Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Turns out, neither of them had seen a Star Wars film before, nor had any idea at all what was going on. Awesome. Date ended at McDonald's after the movie with 1 hour plus of her eating fries one at a time, and her sister talking shit about basically everyone at her work. To this day I'm not sure what that date was even about. There was no second date. It kind of sounds like you were just the free shit ticket bro.